amazing that include.
That would be
Looks
cool.
like they're pushing it off another 5 minutes, so everyone's here. So it gives us 5 minutes to talk, I guess, which is good. Okay, we are live. I'm gonna tweet this out and then we can get this going.
I want to apologize to all the viewers for the blank background. Been moving into a new apartment the last few days, and I probably won't be here for long. Trying to find a new place, so I was just gonna go see if I got anything Packers I could throw up behind me quick, but for now it's boring.
I have no excuse. I've been here since April and it's still blank.
Mine was relatively blank at my old place, but I had like my signed picture of Martin Brodeur, a Packers flag, I think a picture of me and my brothers. There's a little bit, but it's just blank.
Okay. For anyone who joins the stream watching this video back, we are going to be doing a live mock draft here, PPR, 12 team. Jake and I are going to take on a couple very different strategies for this draft just to see how our teams kind of play out, because of these strategies. I'm going to wait until a double-digit round to take a quarterback, and he's going to take one early, probably within the first 4 rounds, I would say. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think 4th round is going to be the cap. Depending on how things go, I might, and where my draft position, because we still don't know where we're drafting here. But depending on those things, I don't know. I might go for 3rd. Otherwise, I'm going to do it in the 4th round for, obviously, that's the whole point of this
right
video here. Well, not the whole point, but a big point of what you and I are doing. Kind of going to be going different ways on all different strategies. I'm going to try and focus on receiver help, downfield options. I don't know if you're going to try and go heavy or do anything special on the running backs, but we could kind of differ there. And then I don't know if you kind of mentioned that you like to grab a defense a little bit earlier. Maybe you could, whenever you feel fit to grab a defense, maybe I'll wait, a few more rounds or even till one of the last rounds to grab my defense. Just try and do all different stuff.
Right. And I'm not going into it thinking I'm going to lean heavy on running back, but I'm going to default to running back, I would say.
Sure.
Yeah, if I'm debating between a wide receiver running back early that are pretty much equal in my value, I'm going to take that running back.
And I will go the receiver route then.
All the mock drafts I've been doing, I've been very heavy on running back. I would say within the first 6 or 7 rounds, I have 4 or 5 running backs lately. And then I'm done. I don't go for handcuffs. I don't go for, like we talked about last stream, one of those Dolphins running backs who are good value. And I do like them. I haven't really been picking them up. I've just been seeing people go crazy at running back immediately, and then they completely back off and think they have to take every other position. So I just stick with it usually.
And this is actually we did our Dynasty League draft a while back now, but this will be my first even mock draft of the year. So I will have my 3 or 4 official leagues coming up probably sometime between the 1st and 3rd of September. Want to kind of get a draft before Labor Day weekend. So I'm excited for this as much as, and I'm hoping to learn as much as anybody else that's tuning in here. So.
Yeah, I feel like ADP has been changing a lot, and it really differs from league to league. I feel like more than any other year, personal preference is taking over more so than past performances. I feel like everyone's getting more educated, which is cool and it's fun. Everyone's they know how to do their own research, and people are more willing to take a stab on who they feel is a sleeper. I feel like there's a lot more value placed on potential sleepers, not necessarily proven value, which is interesting.
Yeah, well, in a year with a lot of questions, might as well take some risks. It's going to be interesting all year, so might as well make fantasy interesting as well. But I think too, like obviously fantasy just keeps growing and growing, becomes more popular. More people are getting into it, and then by the time you get to year 2, 3, 5, 10, whatever, you're going to be better than you ever were. You're going to have people in mind that you're going after because you either had them in previous years or you wish you had them in previous years. And then there's going to be other people that, for me, kind of, we discussed it with Hank on our last stream where I said, hey, we're talking Julio Jones versus DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins just because I want to. I want to see him in Arizona. I want to watch him be exciting. So, even if Julio had a better last season or what, go down the list of things that he could have had, which he didn't. DeAndre Hopkins had a better season last year. But either way, my whole point is that, I took DeAndre Hopkins because I wanted to. And somebody might look at me and say that's silly to draft off of just, hype and what you want to see if the other person proves better. But I don't know, half of fantasy is doing what you want and then getting to brag that you were right when you win at the end of the year.
Well, exactly. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's a game. I get overly competitive about it too, but I don't want to be cheering for players I hate. I'm very much okay with taking a stab on the, we're both Packer fans. Not as much anymore. I used to default to Packer players just because I know I'm going to be cheering for them. Lately, I've been more of a critic of the Packers, but it is what it is.
So
it looks like the draft room is loading right now.
I've always been kind of
we should see
on the opposite side. Yeah, and we can jump to that. But as far as betting and as far as fantasy, I was kind of strayed away from the Packers because, I don't want to be mad at them or ever be cheering against them or anything like that or, be let down by the Packers. I used to, especially when I was younger, I used to just like to be a fan and just strictly enjoy the Packers because there's plenty of other teams I can bet on and other players that I can draft on my bench and have on my bench, have on my team. So I always just stayed away from the Packers. Now I, will analyze the Packers more, put a better, more educated spin on it, and I will go for the Packers whenever I see fit. So we kind of have taken opposite paths.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. And it looks like in this draft order, I'm going to be drafting 4th overall. Again, 12-team league, and you are 6th overall. Kind of an odd spot. Where I am, it's pretty much decided it's going to be a running back. It just depends on who drops, who gets taken 3rd. Because we know Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley are going to be the first 2 off the board. It's going to be between Ezekiel Elliott and Alvin Kamara, who we debated last stream or the one before.
Wow, these picks top of the round are going very fast.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep up with getting picked, and my computer just keeps refreshing.
Yeah, this draft room is weird. We're doing it on Fantasy Pros. I don't like that you can't just see all the players.
Yeah, like on ESPN, they're all listed on the side, and you can see who was just taken.
Yeah, and I took Alvin Kamara with my first pick. Elliott was taken 3rd, actually, which is higher than his ADP. Typically, it's been Cook at 3, Kamara 4, Elliott afterwards. But I do agree, I think, with this ADP overall.
So I'm on the clock right now, and funny, we were just talking about, defaulting to Packers players or taking them, putting a little bit more thought into it. Right now, next 2 top players on the board are Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams. I don't care how big of a fan of the Green Bay Packers you are. I can't pass up Michael Thomas right now. I believe he's going to be the first wide receiver off the board. So and as we discussed in the intro, I'm going to lean wide receiver here. 3 wide receivers on the board and Dalvin Cook, the other one being Julio Jones. Doesn't matter. I'm taking Michael Thomas. That's a pretty easy pick for me.
Yeah, and I agree with that pick. Yeah, the only other person I would debate is Dalvin Cook, but there's questions about workload, there's questions about health, there's questions about contract, and Michael Thomas, there's very little questions at all.
I mean, record-setting year in so many ways last year for Michael Thomas. That guy is absolutely incredible.
I agree. And before your pick, Clyde Edwards-Helaire went 5th overall. What's your take on that? How do you feel about Edwards-Helaire this year as a rookie running back?
I think we discussed it a little bit this morning where there's, a ton of rookie hype all the time. Sometimes it pans out. Sometimes it really doesn't. Fifth overall, extremely high. I'm not sure. You probably don't remember this, but where did someone like the likes of Ezekiel Elliott get taken in his first year in fantasy? Was he a top 5 draft pick? I mean, just not sure. I mean, if you want him, if you like him a lot as a player, you got to take him here because obviously he'd be gone early. But talk about reaching, talk about taking a chance, taking the guy you want versus past performance. I mean, that's a perfect example right there.
And there's been a lot of takes about Edwards-Helaire. I know Fabiano, who I have been a very harsh critic of, went from NFL Network. He moved over to Sports Illustrated Fantasy because Sports Illustrated is still a thing, apparently. He's been vouching for Edwards-Helaire to be the first overall draft pick. And obviously that's asinine when you can just move to Christian McCaffrey, who's superior in every way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't see how you can argue that after Christian McCaffrey nearly puts up 500 points last year. And now that he's got quarterback and a new coach, and who knows, his workload might be lessened a little bit, but I don't think enough to. I mean, he's still going to blow everybody out of the water. I'm almost sure of that. He's going to get a ton of red zone opportunities. He's going to get nearly just as many looks, break off just as many big runs. Edwards-Helaire in that KC offense, though, is going to be fun to watch as well.
I agree. Brandon, which pick was yours? Would you take first overall? I don't know how big of a delay this is. I do hate drafting. What's your opinion? If you had to pick any spot in the first, like in your draft, would you rather be middle, first, later?
I'm always want to be first. I want that first overall pick, and then I know it's a while until you're second and third, but I actually wouldn't even mind being 10th overall or whatever. I like having those back-to-back picks. It seems to me that there's always a couple guys who I have a really hard time deciding between them, and then all season long I'm always going back, playing the what-if game if I made the wrong choice. So I like just having the ability to draft 2 guys at a time. And if you just make the best choices available, it doesn't matter too much that you gotta. I mean, especially with first pick, you really gotta make good choices on the back end of the draft then. But if you just use a little bit of experience and a little bit of luck, you end up just fine. I think I've won two out of the last 3 years. I've won at least one of my leagues, and overall I think I have 3 or 4 leagues that I've won ever in my years and years of playing. So like, it's not like I dominate all the time, but I almost always make the postseason. And I think 2 times that I won, I had the first overall pick, I'm pretty sure. And then I was at the back end of the draft for maybe the others. I don't know. I never seem to do as good when I'm in the middle.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Brandon picked 7th overall, so right after you, and he did take Dalvin Cook. So the person I said maybe you debate between Michael Thomas with him. Dalvin Cook last year was awesome. I mean, he was overshadowed by McCaffrey. If it wasn't for McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook would have made a lot more headlines. He was great when he played. The one thing that people aren't really talking about is the fact that Madison also looked really good last year, and he's going to get carries. There's no way to keep him off the field like as much as they did last year. But Cook is still obviously the main dog. I'm just slightly worried that defenses stack the box slightly more without Diggs.
So I'm on the clock again, and I'm debating between Travis Kelce and Aaron Jones. I said we were going to lead heavy receiver. Obviously, I like Travis Kelce a lot. And I am just not used to this platform. It's taken me
It's weird.
A minute to George Kittle on the board as well. I've only got 10 seconds left. I think I'm going to take Aaron Jones, though. I mean, you gotta take a great player when he's available, and I'm not quite sure because again I can't really see that far down the board.
Yeah.
Not really sure. Okay, here we go. I was gonna say I'm not really sure who's floating there for my next pick at running back, but didn't really want to take a chance. So I took, especially if you're gonna lean heavy wide receiver, you might as well take, if you can get your hands on a really good running back, at least one of them, then you can focus on, receivers for the next few rounds or whatever. So I ended up with Aaron Jones there.
You and Michael Thomas, very first pick, it's kind of tough, especially you're in the second half of the draft. If you waited until the third round to take a running back, it would have been tough for sure. And Nick Chubb was just taken. I'm not going to think twice. I do really like Allen Robinson. If I looked at my actual values, he's probably top on the board right now. It's either him or Kenny Golladay. But I'm going to take Travis Kelce and wait a little bit at wide receiver just to see how that looks. There we go. Again, if it wasn't a mock draft, I would probably take Kenny Golladay there. I think Kenny Golladay is a really, really good wide receiver, and he played well last year with just 8 games of Stafford. Golladay, another player that we debated in one of our previous streams between Golladay and Mike Evans.
Yeah, and if you need any more convincing on Golladay, go back, check that out. Hank did a pretty convincing job in that particular argument. Yeah, I know neither of you guys were real big on Mike Evans, but Golladay has a lot of good stuff going for him, especially if Matthew Stafford comes back, plays at his best, and plays all 16 games.
Right. Brandon just says the amount of running backs off the board and the 3 wide receivers crazy. And if it was easier for me to see exactly how many running backs it is off the board, in this platform, I would probably agree. It's interesting. I don't necessarily feel the need to take a wide receiver super early in the 3 wide receiver draft. I don't really change my strategy, whether it's 2 running back, 2 wide receiver flex, or 2 running back, 3 wide receiver flex.
So there's no flex in this. That's correct.
I believe. Correct, I think.
Well, then I like my strategy even more of going heavy wide receiver.
Yeah. Where's my team? I can tell you right now.
I was trying to find
there's no flex. Interesting. And
yeah,
by the way, right after I took Kelce, George Kittle went off the board. So 2 running backs or 2 tight ends off the board in the second round.
I mean, that's what I was debating, as well as I don't know. I couldn't pass up Aaron Jones there, but either one of those guys, if I was to take a tight end there, it wasn't guaranteed to be Kelce. Like, I might have reached a little bit for Kittle.
I like Kittle. It's that San Francisco I had running backs on the mind. I was looking at how many running backs are off the board. Brandon just said 14. That cheat sheet tab is nice, actually. But that San Francisco offense is taking a beating already. It's interesting to see. Kittle should be awesome this year. Both quarterbacks off the board, end of the second, early third. Patrick Mahomes, then Lamar Jackson. Interesting. I have a pick coming up. I see DJ Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Mike Evans all staring at me. I probably need to take a wide receiver at this point. I'm going to take DJ Moore if he's there. We will see. Yeah, Juju is taken, so I'll draft DJ Moore as my wide receiver 1, and I feel okay about it. I don't love it, but serviceable, I feel like. What are you eyeing up for your pick?
Right now, I was just trying to figure out how to get. Oh, there it is. Okay, the draft. So they got the full draft board. Interesting. So Lamar was taken top of the 3rd round. Where was Patrick Mahomes was taken top of the
two,
Bottom
two
of the
spots
second.
before him.
Okay.
Yep.
So this isn't in order either. Sorry, I'm just so used to ESPN. I don't think I've ever used anything else except maybe NFL.com once. So back to this. I obviously am looking wide receiver here. So I should back myself up with my big Mike Evans talk.
You should, unless you feel defeated from that debate.
I don't know. I like Mari Cooper as well.
See, I don't. By the way, Mike McCarthy keeps talking up Michael Gallup. I don't like Cooper.
Well, you know what? It's just a mock draft, and I've talked up Mike Evans a lot. I don't think that the Bucs are going to be nearly as bad as you guys think that they are going to be, or not even bad, but just like, I don't know. We think that they're going to function in different ways, I guess. And I think Mike Evans is going to be a big benefactor of having Gronk on the field, and of course, being on a team with Goodwin, who's just an insane deep threat. I think Mike Evans is going to get a lot of looks and hopefully going to convert a lot in the red zone.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I've been looking into the Buccaneers a little bit more lately, just because everyone, including myself, feels like Godwin benefits most from the Brady signing of the two wide receivers. But there's people that are raising Godwin's fantasy value from last season because of Brady. And I think that's wild because Jameis Winston threw for 5,000 yards last year, and Tom Brady's not going to throw for 5,000 yards.
No, not even. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Jameis Winston was just a stat monster. We all know that. If I heard some stat, I believe it was if he didn't throw a single pass in the next 2 years in the NFL, he would still be on pace to I forget the exact number, but he would still be on pace to have more stats over his first 10 years, like better stats over his first 10 years than like X amount of Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And it was a large number. And he could sit the next 2 full years. And then if he continued on like the trajectory that he had established in Tampa Bay, then he would have better numbers than Brett Favre, better numbers than a bunch of guys in the NFL through his first 10 years, and the Hall of Fame, through his first 10 years.
Yeah, and I mean, you could talk about how the game has changed, but in reality, most of it is garbage time. I mean, they had nothing else. Their defense was terrible, and it's pretty much just Jameis, go out and see what you can do. If you throw a pick,
but that also
will criticize you, but whatever.
Right, throw a pick and then just keep chucking it. But that also benefits a guy like Godwin so much. And like Tom Brady's not gonna get himself, or is not planning on getting himself down by 21 in the second quarter. You know, like they're gonna be different situation. I don't think he's gonna chuck the ball down the field nearly as much. So it's interesting to see Godwin's value raised.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And the running backs are actually going to be involved in effective ways this year. I think, they have LaShawn McCoy, they got Keyshawn Vaughn, they have Ronald Jones. Vaughn, the rookie, who everyone was super high on at the beginning of the offseason. Now people are seeing his value go lower and lower. They just talked about how he could be a kick returner for them, which to me says he's not involved in the offense as much as we would like. Because, I mean, we can throw him out there and kick return. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. But apparently, Bruce Arians, Buccaneers, Tom Brady, like Ronald Jones, and I'm sure they'll use both LaShawn McCoy and Dare Ogunbowale, former Wisconsin Badgers, still there to serve as that James White sort of role for Tom Brady, I feel like.
So I'm looking
your
down
pick pretty soon.
I was gonna say I'm looking down the board because Calvin Ridley is on the board, and for my wide receiver heavy team, I kind of like the sounds of him. But I also said that I was going to pick the quarterback here in round 4, and I'm looking down the board, and there's just nobody I like nearly as much as I like Calvin Ridley. So I think if he's there, I'm going to go Calvin Ridley and then go Dak Prescott next. If Calvin Ridley comes off the board, then I probably will just go right to Dak.
I think that's fair. I have zero idea what I'm going to do. I would like to take a second running back, but James Conner is listed as the best available. Then Melvin Gordon, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson. I feel like I can wait.
Oh, who just took? I think
Brandon listening to our stream.
Oh, is that what the comment's about? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
See, so now, all right. So I got to explain this quick because I only got 40 seconds, but this is kind of what I was saying when I was talking to you earlier this morning is like, there's just a whole mess of guys right now that I don't have my heart set on any of them. And I think that they're all relatively the same. Terry McLaurin, Lockett, Allen, Sutton, Parker, T.Y. Hilton. These are all guys that could or could not, have really nice years and are going to have comparable years. So I think I can get one of those guys in the next round, which is why I'm just going to take my quarterback that I want right now, and I'm going to take Dak Prescott.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same sort of position. It's the ugly part of that middle tier right now. There aren't guys you love as your wide receiver 2, running back 2, but I don't feel like the value's there at quarterback for me quite yet. We shall see what I do, though.
Josh Allen.
And I said I was going to default to running back. What did you say?
I said Josh Allen is ranked quite a bit below Kyler Murray. I'm slightly surprised by that.
Okay, it's my pick. Yeah, Josh Allen's going quite a bit lower in ADP, and I feel like everyone's kind of basing their rankings off of ADP right now, especially with the uncertainty of the season. Wow, I hate everybody.
Who just got that?
Tyler Lockett just got drafted. To be completely honest, T.Y. Hilton's my top wide receiver on the board right now. I just don't know if I want to take him here. I'll do it, whatever. So I'm going to take T.Y. Hilton as my second wide receiver behind DJ Moore. I'm okay with it.
A.J. Brown, first pick of the 4th round. I missed that pick, but I like that pick.
A.J. Brown's interesting. I mean, he was great last year with Tannehill. If he keeps building off of it, I mean, he could be great. It depends on a lot of factors for me, but he's so talented. He's one of those guys that I was complaining immediately when the Packers didn't draft him,
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a wide receiver. Why would you ever expect the Packers to draft him? Come on, Zach.
That's true. That's true. Okay.
His name is way too simple. I mean, in order to play wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, you typically need a much longer or more complicated last name than just Brown. Way too simple.
Yeah, you need Saint Brown or something like that at least.
Yeah, at least add the Saint, or you need multiple hyphen.
Where's Jordan Love there, Brandon? He's probably out somewhere missing throws. Don't get me riled up about him. After my pick was Keenan Allen. I was looking at him. Keenan Allen's one of those wide receivers. He's not just disrespected for fantasy. He's disrespected in just the NFL. I don't understand, and I am a victim of doing it as well. I don't where do you rank Keenan Allen? Do you think he sees that big of a downgrade with Tyrod Taylor?
No, I don't, because he's the type of guy that, you can chuck the ball up to him and rely on him to make a play. I think he's an underrated guy for making crazy plays, impressive catches. He's always bringing in volume, especially at the beginning of the season. So every year the Chargers always look okay at the beginning of the season. You think, hey, they might make the playoffs this year. They might not totally suck, but then they end up winning 5 games, 6 games. Of course, under, I'm talking when Phillip Rivers was there. But at the beginning of the season, you'll look up at the stat leaders, 4 or 5 weeks in. Keenan Allen is always right there. They usually fall off later in the season, but he always starts off strong. He always puts up big numbers. And I think overall he is disrespected.
first pick in the 5th round, Raheem Mostert goes before David Johnson, before James Conner, before Melvin Gordon. That feels like a reach to me. I mean, he's a good player, but he's in that 49ers committee. Does it feel like a reach to you, or do you think that's a good value for Mostert, who was great at the end of last season?
I wouldn't call it great value because the offense was just destroying everybody at the end of last season, basically. And all of those running backs had a pretty good run through the playoffs and end of the season. So I would call that a bit of a reach. But again, it harkens back to what you were saying where, obviously Swift had his eye on him, had his mind on him. He had to go down the board a little bit to get him. So obviously there's a reason for it. And again, can't really, if that's your strategy, that's your guy. Can't fault you too much.
And I just looked at his ADP. It's actually in line with his ADP, which is surprising to me. But my pick came up. Terry McLaurin was taken right before me. I took James Conner as my running back too. The writing's on the wall with James Conner. He's probably not going to be back no matter what, but he definitely needs a good season to stay. And with Big Ben back, that offense should get much better at the very least. So I took him as my running back too. Low risk, high reward, in my opinion. And Brandon, a 49ers fan, does say Mostert is a reach. So I'm going to take your word for it. Jake, who are you looking at for your pick here?
I like Melvin Gordon on the top of the board. There's nobody I love at tight end by any means right now, so I'm not looking at anybody. I don't love Darren Waller. Definitely not Evan Ingram. I feel like you can get a guy like Tyler Higbee further down the board. Cortland Sutton, Devontae Parker, Stephon Diggs. I do think Diggs might have a pretty good year. But I think I'm going to have to take Gordon here with 2 seconds left on the clock.
I like Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, I think he's got all sorts of potential. We also talked about him in one of our previous streams, which you can find on, Zach's Twitter, my Twitter, I believe. Can you find old streams here on Sportscaster? So, go ahead. Find it here. We talked pretty extensively about Melvin Gordon as well. And the potential with young quarterback opens things up for him. If he can break things out to the outside, he's a fantastic running back. So I'm going a little bit against, I guess not against it because I took the wide receivers first and in the earlier rounds, but I was planning on maybe having a heavier wide receiver to running back ratio here in the early goings. I'm 2-2 right now to go along with Dak Prescott.
And I'm 2-2 with a tight end in Travis Kelce. So similar in a way, but I'm going to be waiting into those double-digit rounds to take my tight end, or my quarterback rather. With that Melvin Gordon pick, it's interesting because we've seen these bell cow running backs go crazy in recent fantasy seasons. And because of that, people are placing a higher value on bell cow running backs, which makes sense. But then the opposite trend has been if someone's in a committee, there's just an extreme level of hate on them. So Melvin Gordon has Phillip Lindsay. Okay, we've seen two running backs thrive before together. It's not like it's 49ers, but there's three or something like that. But Gordon just keeps getting pushed further and further down. And there's other cases like that as well. And it's weird to see.
Yeah, with two running backs, there's still plenty of room for, especially if you're making the most out of your carries. Like, it's not like he's going to get stuck with, 6 to 8 touches a game. Like, he's still going to be involved. He's still going to probably break off big chunk yards like we saw him do all the time out in San Diego / Los Angeles. He's got big play potential all the time. So even if he does, get his carries get cut into a little bit by Phillip Lindsay, but it also works both ways. Like if one running back is running all over the defense, it's just going to help the other running back because he's going to see that and give him confidence. The line's obviously doing something right that day. So having two good running backs is just as much a good thing in many ways as it is a potential harm.
Right, and Melvin Gordon just came from a backfield that was split, and he played well. I mean, he was bad last year in the beginning because of that holdout. He was slow to get in shape, slow to get, up to speed overall. But in the end, like a per game basis, he's still okay. He's still better than what he's getting drafted as now. And just because Denver has a bunch of young, really talented receiving weapons, it doesn't really mean shit. Candace made it. Thanks for joining. Do you have any fantasy questions for us? We will answer whatever you want. We are at the top of the 6th round, by the way. We're chugging along here. Jake, do you want to read off your team from top to bottom so far?
Yeah. Let me get over to the draft board here. So with the 6th pick of the first round, I took Michael Thomas. Pretty easy pick for me there. Aaron Jones was sitting there as the 7th pick of the 2nd round, so I grabbed that running back. Mike Evans, I had to take him. He was up against Julio Jones and one other guy that I'm forgetting right now. Oh, Amari Cooper. Ended up taking Mike Evans there. Then I took Dak Prescott because I was one pick away from Calvin Ridley. Probably could have gotten Dak Prescott in the 5th round as well, obviously, but the whole point here was to take a quarterback early. Dak was the one that I wanted, and he was the top-ranked guy left, so got him. Then, as we were just talking, Melvin Gordon as the 6th pick of the 5th round. And I pick again in four picks here, probably going to go with a wide receiver.
Yeah, and I drafted 4th overall. I started off with Alvin Kamara, brought it back with Travis Kelce, and then I went back-to-back wide receivers, DJ Moore, and then I reached a little bit for T.Y. Hilton. I think value-wise, that's probably where he will finish. He'll finish higher if he stays healthy for 16 games, but he probably would have made it back to me. It was a bit of a reach, but I do like him. And then in the 5th round, I drafted James Conner. Again, I feel like there's high reward there. There's also high risk with the other running backs there, and he also didn't look good last year, but nobody did on Pittsburgh's offense.
True. So I'm debating between a few guys here. I do like Stephon Diggs. I think he's going to be good in that Bills offense. He's got the potential to, streak down the field at any point. He's got other talented players around him, a lot of things going for him. I like Jarvis Landry as well. I've always liked Jarvis Landry for some reason. I liked him in Miami. I've had him in the last couple of years in Cleveland. I've always liked Jarvis Landry. He's not some weeks he's a dud, but most of the time he puts up decent numbers. He's injured though, and I do think that we're going to see Odell have a much bigger role in the offense in Cleveland this year. So I think just for the fun of it, I'm going to trust Tua, and I'm going to trust what Miami is making up there. Go with their number one receiver, number one weapon, and rely on Devontae Parker here. We saw it actually with Jarvis Landry when he was in Miami, just insane amounts of volume, insane amounts of catches, and Devontae Parker is setting himself up in that same kind of fashion. He hauls in the ball like crazy. In PPR league, that can be huge for you.
If he was there, I probably would have drafted him too.
Yeah. Also with a rookie quarterback who throws a very pretty ball, he's going to be looking his direction quite a bit. So I think Devontae Parker and Stephon Diggs were probably my 2 top choices there. Stephon Diggs, I don't know. I like him, but I only had him one time on my fantasy team, and it was when he went through that cold streak, like really bad cold streak, and then he had like 2 or 3 good weeks, and I had him on the bench during those good weeks, and then I started him again, and he did nothing again. So it's just like a personal vendetta against Diggs, but I think he would have been a fine selection there as well. What about
on the clock here? I'm going to take Kareem Hunt as my 3rd running back. I like Kareem Hunt quite a bit. I think he gets more involved, and he was great last year when he showed back up. Also, we see Nick Chubb dealing with a concussion already in training camp. Who knows? I mean, he takes one more hit. If Chubb goes out and Kareem Hunt is the lead back there, he's going to be running back one value to me at least.
And obviously, we all remember what Kareem Hunt did when he came into the league, had that record-setting night, both personally and I believe for the Chiefs in like week 2 or something like that. It was early on in the season, was just absolutely exploding for the Chiefs his rookie year. Obviously, last year, a lot to overcome, a lot of noise surrounding him. He comes back in the middle of the season after not being able to be in the facilities, around the teammates, in contact with the coach, and he still looked like he belonged in that offense. So I think with a full offseason, and then like you said, if he starts getting reps with the number one, I think Kareem Hunt, young, talented running back, could still be on his way up. Hasn't reached his peak yet.
I completely agree, and we know he's going to be involved in the passing game. You were talking up Jarvis Landry before, and just to show you how underrated he is, he's always being second guessed. He's always being pushed down. Wide receiver 14 last year, and that's not a mistake. That's not an anomaly. He just keeps doing it. He just produces. He's a really good player, and yes, there's a louder Odell Beckham Jr. there, but I mean, it shouldn't drown out Jarvis Landry to me.
No, by any means, especially after what he did last year with OBJ on the field with him. I mean, Jarvis Landry he does it quietly in a way where, he will rack up a bunch of catches one week for a bunch of yards and not get in the end zone, but still have a decent amount of points. And then other weeks he'll have, 4 catches for 2 touchdowns and like 80 yards or whatever. He puts up those kind of stat lines where it's like, if you're actually watching the game, you're not seeing him too much, but every time you see him, it's like, oh, boom, there he goes for 25 yards, or there he is in the end zone. And then other games, like I said, he's just hauling in, 12 catches. So no matter what, no matter how he does it, Jarvis Landry gets the job done, and he has ever since his Miami days. So I do really like him. He's just got a nagging injury, I believe, right now, and just don't think he's going to have quite as big of a year as Devontae Parker's potential.
Devontae Parker definitely has the higher ceiling as, a true number one in that offense. Baker Mayfield has to spread the ball around. Not only is there Odell Beckham, not only is there Nick Chubb to get rushes, there's Kareem Hunt to get passes. They added Austin Hooper. They still have David Njoku. I mean, we don't know exactly how this offense is going to look, but it's not just, they added these other people who need targets and that's it. It's going to take targets away. They should be better than last year. So they should score more yards, more everything. But it does hurt some people a little bit. In my mind, it could hurt Nick Chubb. Not that he's bad by any means. I just think it takes some touches away from him, adding everybody else around him.
I agree. Ronald Jones taken as the first pick of the 7th round, Tampa Bay running back.
And at the end of the 6th round, Jalen Reagor was drafted to be that Deshaun Jackson role in Philadelphia. Definitely a reach there.
Definitely. And Deshaun Jackson is not a guy I ever enjoyed having on my fantasy team, ever. Like, he doesn't put up, he's not a week-to-week guy. Even when he was at his best, he would explode for 3-4 games in a row and then nothing for 2 weeks. But he's not a guy you can take out of your bench either. So or put on your bench either, and wasn't. So it's just frustrating because, some weeks you really needed him and he wouldn't show up. And then other weeks it was like he was playing to make up for the last 3 or 4 weeks. He'd single-handedly win you a matchup. But he was just always a frustrating guy for me to have on my team, just really streaky. So if there is a comparison there, hope for more week to week consistently out of Reagor. But man, I think he would have been there for a while. I don't know if you had to grab him right there.
Definitely didn't need to grab him. And I'm never big on a team drafting a guy and comparing him to a player that's still on the team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Let's wait until he's gone. By the way, my pick came up. I was debating between Jarvis Landry and Will Fuller, actually. I don't think anyone's doubting that Will Fuller could have a huge year if he stays healthy. The question is, can he stay healthy? So I took Jarvis Landry there for the reasons we were talking about previously.
So again, I'm kind of at a spot where I don't really love anybody here. I probably should take another running back coming up at some point. But I also think, let's see, I got 20 seconds here. I do like Tyler Higbee. I like him more than most. I like Austin Hooper. I think he's going to have a big year. But we've seen it before, and I think he's really going to need to have a big year if they don't, if they want to avoid top of the draft type season. You bring in Cam Newton, and obviously going to try and throw the ball around with Cam Newton. We've seen videos of him, throwing the ball, saying his, arm is healthy, everything else is healthy. He's going to throw the ball around more than normal. He's going to have to, because you're not going to be able to run, and be physical like you were the old Cam Newton. So Julian Edelman, number one option in New England. I think he's going to see tons of targets, and he's going to have to be incredible if this season's going to work. So I took Julian Edelman. Will Fuller is a guy I fade all the time. You might as well just, if you draft him, you might as well just like go ahead and drop him in like the second or third week, because that's how many games you're going to get out of him anyways. So good luck to whoever just drafted him. Actually, as I'm talking shit, he just got picked. Let's see. Ooh, and Tyler Higbee was taken by FF Nugget. I do like that pick. Like it was between Higbee and Edelman for me. So Tyler Higbee and Will Fuller go back to back.
Brandon in the chat just drafted David Montgomery. He was carted off the field today. Thought his injury was serious. Was it today or yesterday?
I believe it was today. You texted me earlier this morning.
Today's been a long day. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone overreacted, including myself, carted off the field. It's like, oh, are they going to bring in Spencer Ware? He had that connection with Nagy in Kansas City. Obviously, Freeman's still available. Any running back that gets hurt, Freeman's name's going to come up. Turns out it was just a groin strain. Everyone's saying, oh, now it's not serious. Now we're good. Just a groin strain. Who cares? I was talking to you earlier. Groin strain is not something I want to mess around with. Every time I think about it, I think back to Monty Ball in Denver. It's just a groin strain, right? And then all of a sudden he comes back a week too early, and it turns into a worse groin strain.
Yep.
It gets worse and worse.
And nags, and then pretty soon you're in week 13, and he's been half effort, or not half effort, but half himself for the whole season. Has limited his touches. He might still be out there playing, but not at his absolute best, not at the guy that he should have been all season. And David Montgomery, bit of a disappointment last season, a guy looking to become a bit of a breakout star. Be a reliable running back for a struggling Chicago Bears offense. So, yeah, not something you want to deal with all season long.
And Brandon says in this format, he wouldn't have to play him until week 7. I'm assuming that's when one of his running backs has a bye. And that's true, but that's also kind of thinking, okay, as long as he holds out or whatever until week 7 and he doesn't come back early and gets injured worse. There's also the Bears offensive line that's not good. And David Montgomery, he was someone I was so high on last year. Just watching him run, I think he's an extremely talented player, sky-high potential. Super tough to bring down. Every time it looks like he's going to get tackled, it feels like no one can bring him down one-on-one. With a groin strain that throws off your center of balance, you just don't have the power. You don't have the agility. As long as he is able to fully heal, cool. I don't care. But as long as if the Bears rush him back, if he rushes back, he's a young player coming off a disappointing season. Pretty sure he's itching to get back on the field, and hopefully he doesn't come back too soon.
Yeah. If he can get healthy, it's a huge benefit to you as the fantasy player to, you don't have to play him until week 7. But again, that's, no guarantees he's going to be completely healthy by week 7. It is the 7th round, though, middle of the 7th round. So it's not like we're having this debate about Montgomery in the 5th round. 7th round is appropriate, I would think.
Yeah, you're taking chances on players here anyways. It's definitely worth taking a chance on someone with a ceiling as high as Montgomery does have. as he was drafted to be last season. We are at the top of the 8th round now, getting in weird territories. A lot of people that have, questions. They don't have the workload, maybe. You're still searching for your tight end. I'm going to be drafting a quarterback in a few rounds here. Do you think this is the round that you take your tight end?
I think so. I'm going to eye up Austin Hooper. What's funny is Jared Cook just every year I'm like, man, I love watching him on the field. He always makes quarterbacks look good. He performs well, but I never take him. And again, I'm staring at him. There's a couple guys in front of him. Hayden Hurst. Has.
I like Hurst more than Cooper.
Yeah, I know. But look at that, he's gone. So that makes it easy.
There you go. Oh geez, now I need to figure out someone.
And if this was, it is just for fun, but I don't know if this was for real. I might take Rob Gronkowski just as a flyer, just take a chance on him. I like him. I don't know if he's going to last another round. I think tight ends are going to start flying here. But Austin Hooper, 190 points last year, did come from a pass-heavy offense. But Cleveland brought him in. I assume they plan on using him. So I am going to take Austin Hooper.
I think one pick until me. I have 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. Obviously, this is a 2 running back, 3 wide receiver format. I don't love the running backs on the board, but since I drafted Alvin Kamara with my first pick, I am going to take Latavius Murray here, assuming Agi Kappa Sig does not take him. I don't think he will. So just in case Kamara goes down hurt, then I have at least running back 2 value with Murray, in my opinion.
I'll be back in 2 seconds here. I got it. Just 1 second.
Cool. Okay, I am on the clock. Jamison Crowder got taken. Jamison Crowder is another one of those guys like Jarvis Landry. He's not flashy, a slot guy, but he gets the job done. He's Sam Darnold's favorite target outside of maybe the tight end Herndon there. But I am going to take Latavius Murray as my 4th running back. End of the 8th round here. I can read off my team. I have Alvin Kamara, James Conner as my 2 starting running backs, DJ Moore, T.Y. Hilton, Jarvis Landry as my 3 wide receivers. Again, this is PPR. And then I have Travis Kelce at tight end, Kareem Hunt, Latavius Murray on the bench. I feel I'm set up pretty well here. Wide receivers, there's a lot of risk at the wide receiver position to me. Running back position, I'm okay with it. I would like this team more if there's a flex there. Again, we came in doing a different strategy here. Jake was going to take a quarterback early. I was going to take a quarterback late, which is something I normally do anyways. I'm going to wait until at least a double-digit round. Again, we are going to be entering round 9, so I am entering my quarterback territory pretty soon here. A lot of guys I like still on the board, so I feel pretty good about the strategy overall. Want to read off your team?
Yes, sir. I got Michael Thomas in the 1st round. I picked 6th. So just for reference, every other pick, I'm either picking 6th in the round or 7th in the round. So I got Michael Thomas at 6th overall. Aaron Jones in the 2nd round. Mike Evans, I got Michael Thomas and Michael Evans in the 3rd round. And then I took Dak Prescott following the strategy. I wanted Calvin Ridley there, but he was taken right before that. So I took Dak Prescott. I'm happy with that. Melvin Gordon in the next round, Devontae Parker, Julian Edelman, and Austin Hooper. So I've taken 3 straight pass catchers in the last 3 rounds here. Last running back I've taken, it was Melvin Gordon. I should probably eye up another running back here as we're starting to get thin at running back. And I think if I wait until the 10th round, I might not have anybody left that I'm really interested in. So I should probably get my 3rd string running back here and then take best available from then on.
And we're in a weird territory here. I already have, 4 running backs? One is more of a handcuff than someone I would play on a week-to-week basis. I'm probably going to take a 5th running back here. If this was a real draft, I may be a dick and take Philip Lindsay and try to trade him to you. Just because I know you're coming up really soon, and that's someone you probably should take just because it kind of ensures that position for yourself. If he is here, what's my pick now? I'm taking Antonio Gibson for Washington. Gibson's been getting a lot of first-team reps in Washington. Obviously, Darius Geis is out of there. He's competing with Adrian Peterson now. Peterson continues to get it done, but I'm going to take a flyer on Antonio Gibson, who's more of a do-it-all running back. He should have a good season. And if the quarterback play is at least average in Washington, whether it's Alex Smith, which seems like a long shot, but maybe, or what's his name from Ohio State? I don't even remember his name right now. That's how much I love him. But hopefully they get something done under Rivera.
Yeah. What the heck? Why can't I think of it either? Wow, this is pathetic. I'm thinking of literally like a million Ohio State quarterbacks right now, except for him. I'm thinking, Dwayne Haskins. There we go.
Haskins. I was thinking, why. In my head, I kept thinking Hurst.
I was thinking of JT Barrett, Braxton Miller, just like going way back, like Cardale Jones, naming off all these guys. I'm like, wow, and I can't remember the one that's in the NFL right now. All right, so I'm on the clock.
Barrett, I'm pretty sure played about 15 years for Ohio State too.
Yeah, I really liked watching Braxton Miller too. He was a fun watch. So Philip Lindsay, I've just never. I don't love taking 2 running backs on the same team or wide receivers or anybody on the same team really, because like how often are you going to start both of them? You know, and I already took Melvin Gordon, much earlier. I think Duke Johnson is a pretty reliable guy. Marlon Mack. Oh boy, this is tough. I'm running out of time. You could call this maybe a little bit of a reach. I might be disappointed in it, but I'm going to go Kerryon Johnson here. I don't think the Lions are great, but I think he's still got potential. He has not had his best year. Maybe a few other guys that were more proven, a few other guys that probably will end up having better seasons, but I went with Kerryon Johnson there just to make things interesting.
Well, Kerryon Johnson's been solid when he's been healthy. It's just he hasn't been healthy. So now they bring in Swift. Everyone's assuming, Swift's the bell cow now and Kerryon Johnson's gone, and that's not true. It's just going to be a split backfield like, 30 other teams in the league pretty much.
That's pretty – I mean, exactly. That's pretty much the standard now. So, and coaches know that. They plan for that. That's how, like you said, almost every running back that you take, besides for maybe the select few, are going to be in some sort of dual back system.
This is not fantasy related. I just saw a notification on my phone. They're having those NBA meetings right now. Every team voted to keep on playing the NBA playoffs except for the Lakers and the Clippers, which is interesting. They voted to strike the rest of the season, then they left the meeting. And Lakers look not very good, so I understand why they don't want to play.
Who's in on these meetings? Who's representing the teams?
There was players there, and I believe there's coaches there. There's for sure players. If it's a meeting, LeBron's there. It doesn't matter. He's for sure in there.
Yeah, but I didn't know like who got to vote. That's what we were talking about too. Is like the NBA, the players, and like they just have so much more power. Like they are the NBA more so than like the commissioner and the structure and the framework. Because if they don't like something, they just change it. They just refuse to go abide by that, and they just change it. And the NBA goes, okay, it goes this way now. So that's interesting to me that like if it was a players type, like if it's the players that are representing the teams and voting on this, like in what world and with what league, what in the past was it ever even feasible that the players get to vote if they just don't want a season anymore? And that's how it would have been. Like You don't have to take that up with, like we talked about earlier, like all the networks, everybody that has money into this, the owners, like that just kind of blows my mind that the league itself would just let the players decide to do whatever they want to do and like be like, okay, whatever you guys decide, that's how it's going. Like I could very much see like in any other league, in the NFL or the NHL or whatever league you want to pick, like players getting together and being like, this is what we're doing, and the league is just like either no or like, okay, but you're gonna face severe punishment, severe fines, everything else. Like you don't want to show up, you don't want to play, you want to cost us the rest of the season, we're gonna make you pay for it. But the NBA doesn't react that way at all, which is just kind of crazy that the players have that much power. And it's not even like, I say this with no regards to what the meetings are over or like are being held over. Like obviously this is an like not exactly unprecedented, sadly, but it's a situation that the NBA respects and approaches carefully and wants to do their best going about this. But I just mean and for any reason, any circumstance in the past, I just can't fathom that this would have ever been possible before the year 2020 and the NBA,
Well, I mean, the players wanted to protest today, so they didn't show up. And it was okay. And they got what they wanted. In the NFL, if you kneel, it's a political nationwide issue. If you wear the wrong colored cleats, you get fined and you have to change them or you can't play.
Can't play, yeah.
And
the same thing we just saw that with Trevor Bauer, and like the MLB does it too. I mean, MLB is a league. I forgot to mention them, but they would fine you, I'm sure, tooth and nail. They don't care. Like they are not going to bend to your rules, your wishes. Like it's the total opposite of the NBA. And I could not imagine a scenario or a world where the MLB got together and was like, we're not playing anymore. And the league is like, okay, that's fine. Like it just wouldn't happen.
right. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, today I was getting notifications on my phone. Bucks are in the locker room protesting. Bucks game's canceled. Oh, the other games are canceled. Oh, and solo home run from this guy. Like, oh, okay, so baseball's playing. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, and like, so baseball did allow, and like, this is what's interesting too. Like, you're just going to allow some teams to do it, some teams to not. How long are you going to allow them for? Because it wasn't just the Reds and the Brewers that got postponed today. It was the Mariners and the Padres, the Dodgers and the Giants. So 3 games were boycotted today in the MLB. Well, the other ones went on. Houston versus Los Angeles also was postponed, but I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was COVID or something else, because it doesn't say that they were postponed due to boycotting. But so it has branched out into the MLB, but it'll be interesting to see how the MLB handles it, or if they say, one day is fine. Now you guys are going to have to make it up with a doubleheader. I'll be interested to see if any other teams follow suit, like tomorrow morning, if other teams aren't going to play. And WNBA canceled all of their stuff tonight. So it has crept into other leagues already. I don't foresee it coming, affecting the NHL, but it already has in the MLB. So I'm interested to see how they're going to handle that. But MLB, again, it's easy to make something up. You play a doubleheader and that's that.
Right. You're coming up on your pick. Well, now it's here. Who are you eyeing up?
I am looking at wide receivers again here. And there's nobody, again, I keep saying this, but there's nobody I really love here. I mean, Mike Williams is that. And then there's a lot of guys that you're riding off potential. And Jerry Jeudy has had a lot of noise around his name. He's playing with a quarterback who, is probably going to throw the ball down the field a lot. Big arm. I think he's got all sorts of potential. And we're in the 10th round. This is when you start reaching for guys and hoping. So I'm going to take Jerry Jeudy.
That's a good pick. And even Bouye, cornerback for the Broncos, cornerback one for the Broncos, is having trouble with him. He keeps saying his route running is insane. Like, I can't keep up with him at all. He's going to be a great player. We'll see what happens there. And we are in round 10, so this is the area where I can select a quarterback if I wish, going by the strategy that I set in place before the mock draft. Only 9 quarterbacks are off the board, so I could still take a quarterback one, Carson Wentz, here if I really wanted to. But because of that depth, Carson Wentz, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Cam Newton, all of these guys are still on the board. I have zero reason to take a quarterback here. And I am on the clock. I'm also eyeing up wide receiver. I do have 5 running backs, so that makes sense.
Yeah. I would say on the other side of things too, it's like, you know, you can consider a lot of these guys a horse apiece, but it's also like, you know, the guys that you're picking now, you might be getting, maybe you're getting 100 and something points out of these guys, even if they have a good season. Like, these are guys that are going to either start for you for only a few weeks or end up on the bench. So, like, there's definitely could take a quarterback here if you want to ensure, you know, Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford doesn't go off the board next. So, it's however you want to, however you look at it. But who are you gonna, or who did you end up picking?
I just took Mike Williams. He was a 1,000-yard receiver last year. I think he does take a hit with Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod's not going to air it out down the field. I just wrote this up for Osmo. Tyrod Taylor, 20 interceptions total for his entire career, 1.5% interception rate. He protects the ball. He makes those safe throws, which is good for the team. I don't think it's good for Mike Evans. Whereas Philip Rivers would close his eyes and whip it and see what happens. And Mike Williams came down with it half the time. Kind of the same player. Mike Williams is like a cheap man's Mike Evans.
Well,
Other wide receivers there are interesting, though. I mean, Brashad Perriman, Jets' #1 receiver. N'Keal Harry has a connection with Cam Newton. We already have seen that on display. So it's a weird range of wide receivers.
What is your over-under for either, I guess you could frame it, Tyrod Taylor games that he starts this year, or over-under on games until Herbert's first start not caused by an injury? So did you follow that? Like, Herbert's first start that isn't because Tyrod Taylor went down.
I think Tyrod plays all 16 games. I think this Chargers team is good. I think they're set up for good things. And last year, I feel like they lost a lot of games because of Philip Rivers. I think Tyrod's going to open up that running game a lot more because of his legs. They have to respect it. I think he's really talented in passing the ball. As long as he stays healthy, he's not going to lose his job. If he's healthy and they win games, he's not going to play bad enough where Herbert gets the start. It's where Tyrod can play good and they're losing games and Herbert would take over. His position hinges fully on their ability to win games, and I think the defense is good enough to do that. I think they're a 10-win team if Ingram gets his contract. But obviously he's holding out right now, so we'll see what happens.
A 10-win team?
I think so. If Ingram's there, I think that defense is top 2 or 3 in the league. I think that offense is dangerous. Especially that offensive line is the best it's ever been in the past couple decades. As soon as Philip Rivers is gone, they get Bulaga, they get all these guys. They're solid.
Yeah, I wonder what Rivers thinks of that. But, I mean, he is playing behind some of the best tackles and guard combos in the NFL now in Indianapolis. So he's probably like, I finally made it. You're on the board again. Who are you looking at?
I am probably going to go wide receiver yet again, and I'm going to go rookie wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk for the San Francisco 49ers. They keep suffering injuries. He's a really talented guy. I know the guy that was on a lot of Packers fans' draft board for the first round, supposedly on the Packers draft board as well. He's a stud. And he's the wide receiver #1 right now with Deebo Samuel out for sure. So I need to draft him. There it goes.
Yeah, but the Packers just had to have the guaranteed replacement. I mean, he's looked great so far, right, Zach?
Yeah, he's been awesome. I mean, it's really tough to throw those 2-yard outs there. It's crazier to the flat there. Not everyone can beat out Tim Boyle, so don't count that as a knock against Jordan Love, first round draft pick.
Hey, Tim Boyle. I mean, he's got something going for him. He's a funky little white boy. Good command of the offense. Beat out Deshaun Kaiser. He's a tough guy to contend with, especially if you're only like the 24th or 26th overall pick in the first round. I mean, Tim Boyle's a lot to contend with. I can't blame Love here.
And you can count that Jordan Love, not only is he a first round draft pick, he's also worth a 4th rounder. So I mean, technically he's more valuable than even Joe Burrow at that point.
And it's obvious too.
Yeah, that's just math. Who are you taking here?
All right, I think I'm going to go wide receiver again, and I'm going to take a bit of a flyer on Allen Lazard. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to have, I don't even want to call it a bounce back year, really, or a revenge tour or anything like that. I think he's just going to come out, play better than we've seen him play in past years. I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. He knows who he's working with and what he's got to be even better in order to make it work with this group. But also, I mean, they made it to the NFC Championship last year, and they by no means should have won. I mean, San Francisco was the much better team, but still, you win that many games, you make it that far in the playoffs, even without help. I think he's going to put.
Did we lose Jake? Okay, well, I will take over here riding solo until Jake unfreezes. Okay, and he is gone. I might be here. Is this can I invite people using this? I think he can join right back in. But I'm going to ride solo until then. I'm not sure if this mock draft is going to let me do anything but draft a quarterback, defense, or kicker. And because the quarterback's still on the board, I'm probably going to go defense with my next pick, actually. So I might wait until the very last round to take my quarterback at this point. There are a lot of guys still available at quarterback, only 10 off the board, 12-man league. Best available, according to Fantasy Pros, is Tom Brady. I would not draft Tom Brady probably, just because I don't like drafting people I don't want to cheer for. I would probably go Matthew Stafford or take a chance. Cam Newton's there. And if this is a real draft and I don't have to take a kicker, what I'm going to do is take 2 quarterbacks, see what happens, drop one before week 1 kicks off. Joseph is having internet problems with his draft as well. That's interesting. I wonder if, I don't know. But we are at the very end of the 11th round. My team top to bottom so far. Again, no quarterback yet in the 11th round going into the 12th. I have Alvin Kamara, James Conner. Wide receivers, we have DJ Moore, T.Y. Hilton, Jarvis Landry. At tight end, Travis Kelce. My bench, Kareem Hunt, Mike Williams, Latavius Murray as my handcuff to Kamara. Then I have Antonio Gibson and Brandon Ayuk. I need to figure out how to pronounce that name for sure. A couple of rookies there with high upside on my bench. Again, staring at defense now, just because of the depth at the quarterback position still available. This is a mock, so who knows if everyone would have done the same strategy with quarterbacks. It's interesting because obviously no one's taking a backup quarterback. No one's rushing to take quarterbacks, essentially. Even Jake came in with the strategy of reaching for quarterback, and he still drafted Dak Prescott at his typical ADP. It's interesting. We are waiting 10 picks until me still. Everyone's slowing down. Maybe everyone's having internet issues. Pittsburgh Steelers' best defense on the board. Joseph Henderson. Henderson, I mean, he's been injured. He's been hurting a little bit. Obviously, backfield trio with the Rams. We have Henderson, we have Cam Akers, we have Malcolm Brown. McVay has said he wants to do a committee similar to the 49ers. Henderson has potential. He had potential as a rookie last year. Didn't really show up. It sounds like they're going to go with hot hand. And one would think Cam Akers runs away with it. No pun intended. But, similar to the 49ers, they don't have a true number one running back. It really is game flow specific. Whoever's cracking runs off, they're going to get the rock. But, last year, problem was Rams' offensive line. That was the problem for the quarterback. That was the problem for the running back. That was the problem for everybody. So is anyone really going to take off in the Rams' backfield? I don't know. And you drafted all your starters except for kicker. So, yeah. At this point, auto draft at the very end of your draft. Who cares? Personally, I like to take those lottery tickets, those guys who could boom or bust, especially at this point when we still have a few weeks before the season. But you're not – anyone who you really, really want is probably going to be there when you can come back in afterwards, drop whoever was auto-drafted for you and grab your guy. 3 picks until me. It's moving now. I think a lot of people may be on auto-draft. 2 defenses off the board. 49ers and the Ravens. Surprise, surprise. We still have Steelers, Bills, Patriots, Saints. This is also a good time to plug Awesemo.com. I am one of the lead people at Awesemo. Awesemo Fantasy has their own fantasy football stuff this season. Awesemo, number 1 DFS player in the world, used his projections to create his own rankings, and he has a draft wingman tool to use along with your draft. Find the best people, give you these optimal lineups. His number 1 defense this year is the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's interesting to me. Kansas City Chiefs makes sense because they're going to be up. They are going to be able to send the dogs at the end of the game, go get that pass rush, get those picks, get those turnovers. That must be his thinking. His stuff is all based on equations, formulas, projections. So he's just assuming, they're going to get those turnovers. Not my number 1 defense, though. I'm probably not going to take them. Jake thought I was the one that froze. I think he can come back in, though. 1 second while I text him. We might be able to get Jake back in here. 1 pick until me. Again, all those defenses are still on the board. I'm going to take one of them, and then I'm probably going to follow that up with quarterback. And then just because it's a mock draft, I'll take a kicker. That's not something I would typically do. Okay, here we go. I'm on the clock. Pittsburgh Steelers were taken. That's probably who I would have selected. So good on you for whoever did it. Bills top available. Patriots number 2 available. Not going to take the Patriots. They lost 6 or 7 starters from last year because of free agency, because of COVID. I'm going to go with the Bills, though the Saints are very interesting to me. They're another team that's solid defensively, and they can also send the dogs at the end of the game, first force those turnovers with defenses in passing situations. Jake says I won't let him join back on his phone. That's fine. We'll go solo for the rest of the draft, and then I will review my team and Jake's team at the very end, and then we'll get out of here. Make sure to follow us if you're watching right now. You can get notifications when we go live. Follow us over on YouTube. We don't have the domain yet. Subscribe over on YouTube. It's just Flurry Sports channel. Once we get enough subscribers, then we can change that to the /Flurry Sports. This entire mock draft, this stream should go back up on YouTube as well. And we are going to try and get quite a bit of fantasy videos up daily on YouTube this season. We will be streaming here, hopefully daily this season, giving you ad drops, sleeper, start sit, answering your questions, all that kind of good stuff, as well as some betting stuff. Jake's a betting guy. I'm a betting guy. We have a lot of people who contribute to various betting sites, and we are going to be making money together this season. It's going to be a glorious, glorious thing. 4 picks until me. Tom Brady was finally selected after I took Buffalo. That's interesting. As high as so many people are on Tom Brady, he went at the end of the 12th round here. 2 quarterbacks are staring me in the eye right now. Matthew Stafford, quarterback 4 on a per-game basis last year. Cam Newton, who is Awesemo's 4th-ranked quarterback this year based on his rankings. Both guys interesting. Both guys have their risks. Matthew Stafford is injury. Cam Newton, mostly injury, also a new offense. You don't really care about the crappy receiving weapons. It's an upgrade from what he had in Carolina. Cam is a guy, if his ADP stays this low, I'm going to be taking him quite a bit this year, but I'm probably not going to take him as my starter, hopefully. Lions have better weapons than the Patriots. 100% true, and Jake is back, I think. We see his forehead. Can he hear us? Jake's here. Can you hear me? Hello? Ooh. Okay, Jake was here. That was cool. That was like a photo bomb except for a stream. That was kind of cool. Hello? I heard myself. Well, Jake gets that figured out. I have 1 pick until me. Both quarterbacks still on the board, it looks like. Everyone's taking their defense or kicker right now. I'm taking my starting quarterback. What a strategy, huh? And I feel very good about it. If I can go Stafford and Cam Newton here, boom, boom, back to back, ending my draft with 2 guys who have top 10 quarterback potential, give it to me all day, every day. We will be doing a recap on this mock draft on flurrysports.org, hopefully in the next couple of days. Every expert drafting is going to be giving their thoughts on their team, on other people's teams. Everyone's going to say their own favorite pick and why in terms of value, their least favorite pick, what their strategies were going in. So it's going to be an interesting read to see what the experts around the industry are doing before you draft your own team, because you might pick up some different strategies that you didn't really think about. And I know I'm going to be reading it because at the very least, I get to know what other people are going to do, and I can counteract it and be a dick in drafts. That is something I'll take a lot of pride in doing. So I did decide to take Stafford over Cam Newton there. Jake is on the clock. I'll let you guys know who Jake takes. He has 2 picks left, I believe, not just the 1. Yeah, he has 2. But after he drafts this one, I will let you know what his team is looking like here, because we can assume he has here he's just going to take a kicker or a defense at the very end. Just texting Jake back right now. Bad internet issues, so he's probably going to auto pick here so we can see who the computer thinks is the best available. Jared Cook. He's been talking up Jared Cook. That has to be him. No way a computer did that. Jared Cook is an interesting guy. He's getting downgraded a bit because the Saints drafted a tight end. They also brought in Emmanuel Sanders. They also have a healthy Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas. Is there too many mouths to feed? Does Taysom Hill get more involved? Are we going to see 3 quarterback formations this year? We do not know. I think Jared Cook's fine. He's too good to keep off the field. Stafford was an MVP candidate last year before the injury, says Yosa. Very true. Again, he lit it up last year. First 8 games of the season, quarterback 4 on a per-game basis for the entire season. I'm very okay with going into the year with him as my starting quarterback. And he is getting taken at the very end of every draft, not just this one. I'm very okay with that. And again, if I have a deep bench and I have the luxury of rostering both him and Cam Newton, bring it on. Love it. So Jake's team here, top to bottom. Let's start at quarterback. He took Dak Prescott. Jake's a Cowboys lover. We knew he was going to do it. We told him not to. Dak Prescott, Aaron Jones, Melvin Gordon. Wide receivers, he's got Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, Devontae Parker. That's a good trio. Austin Hooper at tight end. Austin Hooper, good with Atlanta last year, went over to Cleveland. Who knows what kind of role he has. And then his bench, Julian Edelman, Jared Cook, Kerryon Johnson, Jerry Jeudy, Naheem Hines, and Alan Lazard. Guys with upside, guys with questions. That's exactly what a bench should be. Julian Edelman, great find. He's getting way underrated. Way underrated. I like it. We could recap my team here before I take one last pick. If it lets me take a position that's not kicker, I'm going to go with Cam Newton. If it was a real league, I would either take Cam Newton or a handcuff to one of my guys or a high-profile player, just because there's so much time left before the season, and we've seen all these injuries already. I don't need to keep a kicker on my team. Fuck it. Don't need that kicker. I need someone who has the potential of being one of the top of their position. And guess what? If they don't get hurt, if that does not come to fruition, boom, gone. Take my kicker. I'm happy. Let's go. My team, though, is top to bottom. Matthew Stafford taken in the 13th round. And then running backs, Alvin Kamara, James Conner. Wide receivers, DJ Moore, T.Y. Hilton, Jarvis Landry. Tight end is Travis Kelce. Defense, Buffalo Bills. My bench is where I feel like I really thrive. I have some really high upside guys on my bench. Kareem Hunt, Mike Williams, Latavius Murray as my Kamara handcuff. And then a couple of really good rookies in Antonio Gibson and Brandon Ayuk, 49ers rookie. It does let me take someone that's not a kicker. So guess what? Cam Newton, can you kick? We'll find out. That's who I'm taking. Good draft, I feel. I feel okay about my team. I think Jake's wide receiver trio is nasty. I think that's really good. My wide receiver trio, question marks, but all 3 guys underrated for sure. T.Y. Hilton, top 10 guy if he's healthy. Travis Landry, wide receiver 14 last year. Consistently underrated. It's going to be this is good. So make sure to go over to flurrysports.org. Always read the stuff there, obviously. Good shit. But we're going to do that recap on this mock draft, giving insights on everything. Make sure to follow us here on Sportscaster. If you're watching on YouTube, go to sportscaster.com/flurrysports. Follow us for these live streams. Hopefully we'll be doing these every single day during the season. Fantasy insights, betting insights. We're going to make you money, whether it's winning the pot in your fantasy leagues or betting every single week. We're going to kill it. It's stupid to not follow us. I mean, my NBA prop bets right now are at 80% hit. It's dumb. It's dumb. We're dumb over here, man. We're killing it. YouTube. Just type in Flurry Sports and you'll find us. You'll find this stream. If you're watching us on YouTube, good job. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell so you are notified every time we come out with a new video, especially if you're in a fantasy league where you can claim your waivers at any point. You can claim your guys at any point. You need that because you don't want to be waiting. You want to have the edge, and we're going to give you the edge this season. Thanks for tuning in. 1.5 hour show. Not too bad. See you next time.